Hi there, it's Lori, and it's Friday. Finished? No, not really. But there might be. I might add some video of a finished object. We'll see. One of the goals would be to finish this that I'm pattern testing. Not finish the item, but finish the cake. This is a Colorama Halo cake in Beet. This is the colorway. Beet Red, I believe is the name. And it calls for a 6.5, but I'm using a 9mm. And it is, I believe, 481 yards. Yes, 481 yards. I have this much of the cake left, but I just want you to see that fade is so beautiful. So I have 3 of these cakes. This is more than halfway for part of the pattern. I want to see where I'm at when I finish this cake. I'm hoping this section is finished. Then what I'll do is I'll pull from the inside for one end and pull from the outside for the other end. And then it will be purple on one side and then fading into this pink and red on the other side, and it will be really cool. That's my hope, but we'll see. This has been consuming all my time. The stocking's almost done. That's why I said it might be done. And Camille threw down a challenge, and I have a hard time declining on a challenge. So it's possible I'll be up all night. Today is Wednesday. I was supposed to have Botox tomorrow, in which case I would have needed to get to bed, but I don't because the doctor's office messed up. So Camille dared me. Not really. So me and Linda, we're going head to head. Who can get it done? Anyway, so this tote might get pushed to the side for a bit. I have to decide on colors, but I kind of think I already know what I'm going to do, but I have to decide because I think it's 3 colors. It's not like I don't have a ton to choose from. And by the way, there's all kinds of 100% cotton yarn back there. And then over there, I have this whole thing of cotton blends, so I have to see what Camille calls for. Anyway, dating story. That's what you're all here for. I promised you that the best one would be saved for Friday. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to preface this. Well, I'm going to add to the story. I mentioned this story in Live Fantastical, Michelle and Cheyenne's live on Monday. So that's why I've been doing dating stories. I think it was last Monday, not this Monday. I think. Anyway. This was my surreal bad date. Like, did that really happen? And there's a little bit of a follow-up. There's part of it I won't tell you because it's so not YouTube appropriate, what he said. I'm not sharing it. Like, if you really need to know, I will email you. You email me if you've got to know the other part of the story. But there is a follow-up that I didn't mention that's really quite humorous. Okay. So, this was well after my divorce. This was 4 years, ish, 4 years or so after my divorce. And I hadn't gotten on the dating apps per se, but there was a Facebook dating app of sorts. It was a Meet app. No, it was a dating app. All right, so chatting with this guy. He was pretty humorous. He was from Belfast. Now, some of you might be going, wait, your husband is from Belfast. Yes, that's the follow-up crazy part. Okay, so this was not my husband. Let me be very clear. My husband would never. No. So I'm chatting with him, and he was kind of funny. I said, well, what brought you to America? And he said, an airplane. And, that kind of dorky humor. I like that humor. So I go ahead, and he says he doesn't drive because he doesn't have vision in one of his eyes, like born that way, I guess. And so he tried to learn to drive but struggled. And I get that. I mean, I can't imagine only having vision in one side and being able to effectively drive. You can. Some people do, manage to pass and make it work. But my neighbor was teasing me about yawning. Yeah, Michelle, you're not wrong. It's because I don't sleep enough. All right. So... And it's also an indicator of migraine. So the wind has been killing my head today. But I'm fine. I'm fine, guys. Don't worry. You don't even need to ask. I'm really fine. This is like my normal level. I cope. It's fine. Okay. So he's from Belfast. I think he's kind of funny. Banter. Oh, I can't drive, so we need to meet somewhere I can walk. So we met at a Starbucks. He's a little bit taller than me, maybe 3 inches or so taller than me. That doesn't bother me. I don't care how much taller you are than I am. I just needed someone taller than my ex who was like that much taller than me, because that was my own issue. It bothered him that I was tall. Anyway, it's a whole thing, but neither here nor there. Back to the date. He has kind of long hair that he has pulled in a ponytail, so it's like he looks neat. It's not like he's living on the street. He has a good job and whatever, that he has to take RTD. He can only work jobs that he could, I say RTD, you don't know what that is. Public transit, the public buses. Because back then I don't even remember if our light rail was going yet, which is like a train. Anyway. So he had a good job. He had a son and a daughter. This was our own one and only date, so I don't know anything else other than that. I got the full story on his, how he ended up staying in America and whatever. None of that is important. Very, very different than how my husband came to America. Again, also from Belfast. Very strange coincidence, but that coincidence gets weirder. Just hang in there. But again, this was not my husband. So we're meeting. We physically meet at Starbucks. He buys my, I don't know. I'm gonna guess I ordered a caramel macchiato, because at that time that's kind of what I drink. So that's my guess. I literally don't remember. So we sit down, and he still has a very thick accent. Again, unlike my husband, who chose to kind of lose his accent. I'm going to do my best. When I do a Northern Irish accent, I do my best, but I know it's not quite right. So we're chit-chatting and whatever, and he kind of does this. And goes, "How much do you weigh?" Yeah, literally what he said. Now, me being who I am, I was just kind of in shock. And I just said, "Well, I don't actually know." He proceeded to take a guess. I'm like, "Excuse me, am I at a carnival? Did I sign up for the weight guesser?" Nope. I believe he was close, but he was a little under. So at least he wasn't an eggplant about that. He was actually, but still, do you work for the carnival? Because that's what that made me think. So yeah. Now, most of my friends, when I told them this story, were like, "My gosh, why didn't you just get up and leave?" I'm like, I don't know. I just think I was in so much shock that somebody would say, "How much do you weigh?" See, I did worse that time. First time was better. Who asked you how much you weigh? On a date. First date. In person, you're seeing me. I was probably 40 to 50 pounds lighter than I am now. I was very trim, comparatively. So, anyway, I still don't know the source of the question or why he asked the question. It just, yeah. And then as we were leaving, he said something else to me that, again, if you really need to know, you can repeat. Now, here is the crazy thing. Let me see. About a year and a half later, give or take, I'm chatting with my husband on Plenty of Fish, because at this point, this was Plenty of Fish, not Facebook. I never used Facebook Meet again, or whatever that app was called. Nope. Never again. Never again. Year and a half later, I'm on Plenty of Fish, and I'm chatting with my husband. Well, obviously not my husband at the time. And he says he's from Belfast. And I'm like, okay. And then he said his name, which I won't say, again, only because he's in law enforcement. Same name as "How much do you weigh?" From Belfast. That is the strangest coincidence to me. It's hilarious to me now, because I was asking all kinds of questions to my husband, like, to make sure he wasn't the same guy. He isn't. As soon as he said he had 3 girls, I was like, oh, okay, we're good. We're good, because I knew that other one had a boy and a girl. But how weird, right? Like, what are the chances, statistically, that two men with the same first name from Belfast ended up here and connected with me online? Here in Colorado, Denver metro area. Anyway, so my daughter, I'm going to tell you more follow-up. Maybe that's all this video will be. Yeah, it might be. We'll see. I'm looking at the time that I've already been recording, so yeah, there's a good chance. You're just getting stories today, and I showed you some crochet. So I tell my daughters the how much do you weigh part. I don't know that I've ever told them the part that I said I won't share publicly, just because it's just not YouTube appropriate. It's just not. I'll email you if you desperately need to know. I'll email. It's not cool. That's all I could say. There's no foul language in it, but questionable is a kind word. Anyway, I did not see that man again. Anyway, so I'm telling my daughters some of my bad date stories when they're older, obviously. So they were in high school at this point. I'd been divorced from their dad for a long time at that point. So even that bad date was 4 years after my divorce. I think that's what I said earlier. Anyway, so I tell my daughters this. Okay, if a man ever says this to you, it is okay for you to go, nice meeting ya, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. Anyway, so I'm telling them this story. Well, my younger daughter, when she was a senior in high school, so I had already met my husband at that point, but she was in a theater class at school where for the senior project, they were supposed to direct a play. And she asked the teacher if she could have permission to write a play. And she wrote a speed dating play somewhat based on my bad dates. I mean, smart kid, right? She's so funny. She's actually a gifted writer. She's the one that works with Botanic Gardens. She sings like an angel. Anyway, she's very talented. And so funny. She has been funny since she was tiny. She's the funny of her dad and the funny of me put together. And then maybe the funny of my dad, her grandpa, put on top of that. She is hilarious. Her timing is impeccable. So she writes this speed dating play, short play, obviously, like a one scene or whatever it is, 2 scenes. I think it was 1 scene act or 1 act. It might have even been shorter than a 1 act. Anyway, whatever it was. So that was the premise, speed dating. And she literally put that in the play. So I think it was the last, so you're kind of following this one particular character as they rotated through the tables, one particular girl, I think, if I remember right. And so she's directing because the kids, there you go. The kids in the class were also in the play. That was their part. If they weren't seniors, they were the actors. So they get to that part when they're sitting down at the speed date, and the kid just, obviously without the accent, just says, "How much do you weigh?" And the girl does a spit take. If you don't know what a spit take is, that's when you have water and you spit it out, right? That would have been a normal response for me. It wasn't my response. So all the kids that she was directing are like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny." And she goes, "Y'all want to know what? That really happened to my mom." And then they all just thought it was the most hilarious thing they'd ever heard. So there you go. There you go. Your Friday, we'll call it Fun Friday, and sort of FOs. It's not really. Nothing's finished. It is what it is. So Fun Friday is just all the things connected to this one bad date. And the fact that my husband's name and where he grew up is the same as that man is freaking hilarious to me. I was seriously asking questions in the chat as we were chatting on Plenty of Fish, and I'm like, that's where I threw a lot of fish back. I haven't even told you all the dating stories, but we hit the highlights. This one being the highest of the highlights or the lowest of the lowlights, whatever you want to call it. But man, I was like suspicious. I was so suspicious. Okay, yeah. Anyway, but there you go. So this is almost done. This is for my son-in-law, and it's for Camille's Happy Holidays Challenge. This is something I'm pattern testing for Becky. This tote might get tossed aside. This is a laptop tote. I may or may not get back to that. We'll see, depending on what I end up doing with Camille's tote, based on her Battle of the Stitches. So, okay, I have talked a really long time, and y'all have heard plenty. Yep, but if you need to know that other detail, you can. It's not foul language, it's just ridiculous and not YouTube appropriate. Not public statements appropriate. Anyway, thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for coming in, and can I get an amen to never having another bad date in my whole life? I won't. They're done. No more dating, ever.